Have you ever wondered what a Roman emperor's dinner party was really like? Forget the simple pasta and pizza we associate with Italy today. The banquets of ancient Rome's elite were on a whole other level of bizarre, extravagant, and downright shocking. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the dining tables of the 1% of ancient Rome. Let's dive in. To understand Roman fine dining, you first have to understand the cena, their main meal of the day. For the average Roman, this was a simple affair, but for the rich it was a multi-course spectacle designed to impress. These weren't just meals, they were social and political events that could last for hours, sometimes all night long. Guests didn't sit on chairs. They reclined on lavish couches, a sign of high status, while servants attended to their every need. Let's start with the appetizers, or the gusttatio asterisk. The goal here was to whet the appetite. Think of it as ancient Roman tapas. Popular choices included eggs, olives, and fresh salads. But they also had more exotic options. How about some sea urchins served with a drizzle of spiced honey, or perhaps some snails, which were specially fattened on milk until they were too big to fit back into their shells? And one of the most prized delicacies, dormice. Yes, you heard that right. These little rodents were fattened in special terracotta jars and then stuffed with pork and nuts, roasted and served as a crunchy, savory snack. It sounds strange to us, but for the Romans, it was a status symbol. Now, for the main event, the prime mense asterisk. This is where the hosts really showed off their wealth. The more exotic and difficult to obtain the food, the better. Entire boars would be roasted and brought to the table, often with their bellies stuffed with live birds that would fly out when the boar was carved. This was pure dinner theatre. Peacocks and pheasants were also favorites, not just for their taste, but for their beautiful plumage. They would be cooked and then painstakingly redressed in their feathers to be presented at the table, looking as if they were still alive. But nothing screamed, "I'm rich," quite like seafood. The Romans were obsessed with it. Oysters were imported all the way from Britain, kept fresh on beds of ice. They even built elaborate saltwater ponds, called piscinae right in their villas to farm a continuous supply of their favorite fish, like red mullet. These fish were so prized that they were sometimes brought to the table alive in glass bowls, so guests could admire their changing colors as they died. It was considered a mark of ultimate freshness. Of course, no Roman dish was complete without a generous splash of asterisk. What is garum? It was the ketchup of the ancient world, a pungent, fermented fish sauce made from the entrails of fish like mackerel and anchovies, which was salted and left to ferment in the sun for months. The liquid that drained off was garum. It might sound unpleasant, but it provided a rich, savory umami flavor that the Romans added to almost everything, from vegetables and meat to even sweet desserts. The highest quality garum was worth its weight in gold and was a staple in every wealthy kitchen. What about the side dishes? You might find vegetables we recognize, like asparagus, artichokes, and leeks, but often prepared in surprising ways. For example, a dish might feature sows, udders, and flamingo tongues. Yes, flamingo tongues. The Emperor Vitellius was famously fond of a dish that included the tongues of flamingos and the brains of pheasants. They believed the most delicate and rare parts of an animal held the best flavor. This wasn't about nutrition. It was about conspicuous consumption, proving you could afford to eat things no one else could. And let's talk about presentation. It was everything. Food was often disguised to look like something else entirely. A chef might mold a fish to look like a chicken or create an entire scene from mythology using intricately carved vegetables and meats. One famous host, Trimalchio, from a work of fiction called The Satyricon, which satirized Roman excess, served a course where each dish on a circular platter represented a sign of the zodiac. It was all about the wow factor. The chefs who could pull off these incredible culinary tricks were celebrities in their own right. After the main courses were cleared away, it was time for the asterisk secundae, mensae asterisk, or dessert. This course was typically lighter, focusing on fruits like grapes, figs, and dates. But even dessert had its acquaintances. Honey was the primary sweetener, and they would use it to create all sorts of pastries and cakes. One popular treat was asterisk placenta asterisk, a layered pastry of dough and cheese soaked in honey, which is considered an ancient ancestor of modern cheesecake. They also loved fruit that was poached in spiced wine and honey. And what were they drinking with all this food? Wine, of course. But not wine as we know it. Roman wine was much thicker and more alcoholic, so it was almost always mixed with water, sometimes even seawater. They loved to flavor their wine with spices, herbs, and most importantly, honey, to create a drink called asterisk, mul. Some asterisk wine was a central part of the dining experience, and a good host would offer a variety of vintages from different regions of the empire. The drinking would often continue long after the food was gone, fueled by conversation, poetry, and entertainment. So, when we look back at the feasts of the Roman elite, we see a world obsessed with luxury, status, and spectacle. Their meals were a performance, a way to display power and wealth in the most visceral way possible. From fattened dormice and flamingo tongues to live bird-stuffed boars and rivers of fish sauce, their cuisine was a wild ride for the senses, while our modern palates might not crave a side of so's udder. You have to admit, they certainly knew how to throw a dinner party you'd never forget. What do you think? Is there any ancient Roman dish you'd be brave enough to try? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks so much for joining me on this culinary journey back in time. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next adventure into the past. See you next time.